Have you ever wondered why, when you fill out a form from the government, it's pages and pages long with an unending amount of questions? Let me try to explain as someone who used to work in the government, trying to make these forms simpler. Hi, I'm Kira. I used to work in the federal government, and now I help explain how it works. I think we can all agree that these forms being this long are not good. One nonprofit looked at forms for food stamp applications and found that the average length across the country was 17 pages. Forms being long means that it takes more time for people to fill them out. It's harder for people with a reading or language barrier. It can be confusing, but it also takes a lot more time for the people on the other end who receive a form working for the government who then have to do something about it. One reason why forms can be so long comes from the fact that there's 3 different levels of groups that are responsible for putting questions there. Those 3 groups are Congress, the federal office that runs the program, and your state, city, or county. The first is Congress. Basically, a lot of programs have some amount of federal funding, so Congress is the source for that funding. When Congress gives a program money, they also give a set of rules for how that money should be spent and how that program should be run. And often that includes what information needs to be gathered from applicants. The next level is the federal office that runs the program. So this is a department in the executive branch, like the Department of Health and Human Services or the Department of Education. They may want to ask additional questions to help understand the program as a whole. The last is your state or county or city, who actually receives and processes these applications, who may want to ask their own questions. For example, they may want some state-specific info, like knowing if someone qualifies for a different state program. Now, how does this explain why forms get so long? Partially, each level has to keep all of the questions from the level above it, even if they themselves don't really need it. For example, the federal office has to include the questions from Congress, just like the state has to include questions from the federal office, because that's how the money flows. Someone more at the top, like Congress, they may be able to change the questions that they require, but they don't have the same visibility on what the final result looks like. And someone on the local level may look at a form that's 17 pages long and know that that's bad, but a lot of the questions are outside of their control. From my view, really long forms are not done on purpose because they're more work for both the people filling them out and the people who have to process them on the government side. However, long forms can result from different levels of government needing to ask their own questions and a really long form coming out as the result at the end. There's a lot of good effort going on from people to try and simplify these forms, but more work is needed. So if you have a form that gets under your skin, that you fill out, that wastes a lot of your time, I encourage you to reach out to the office that owns it and give them your feedback.